Does a narcissist care that they actually are hurting you? Does he even care that he knows that he's causing you pain? Have you ever found yourself questioning this? Of wondering if the person in your life, maybe a narcissist, maybe a toxic person, like actually cares about you or actually understands that they're causing you pain? Maybe you're at the place where you're constantly trying to justify like their hurtful actions and their hurtful behavior, and you're wondering, like, do they actually know? And sometimes the thought process here is if they would know, then they would stop, right? Like if they would understand what they were doing, how they're hurting me, then they would probably stop. So it must be that they don't know. Do they know? If you're curious about the question, I want you to stick around for a couple minutes, because in this video, we're actually going to explore some of this question of whether they know or not. And then if they actually care about the pain that they're causing you. We're going to discuss a little bit about narcissistic personality disorder, how it influences their behaviors towards others, as well as the impact that it leaves on you and the rest of the victims. If you guys are new here, my name is Ben Taylor. I'm a self-aware narcissist on this channel to provide awareness, growth, healing, change, and development. I'm on here to try to tell people what narcissism is, what it actually looks like, help people break free out of a trauma bond. I meet with people every single day, helping them walk them through the process that we teach to be able to rewire your mindset so that you don't go back to a toxic person or you don't get with a toxic person down the road. If you want to talk to me sometime, you can go to rawmotivations.com, click on the one-on-ones. Would love to be able to help you. Would love to be able to work with you. If you're following on the podcast or you're listening on YouTube today, please hit subscribe, like, rate, review, anything like this just to help spread the message and spread the word about narcissistic abuse. All right, so when we're talking about narcissism, and we're talking about how a narcissist actually like shows up in the relationship, one of the things I want you to understand is like first just understanding about narcissism as a whole. So we're talking about this aspect of like, first, one of the big ones people talk about is lack of empathy, right? Narcissists have a limited capacity for empathy, or they don't engage with empathy, or they don't have empathy. And so there's a piece of this that affects like how they actually care about you, or if they actually care about hurting you, because it's not about you. That's the hard part in the relationship, is you feel like the relationship is both of you working together, like two people. Like it's supposed to be two people working on this marriage or relationship, whatever it might be. And you're left wondering, like, why doesn't he actually care that he's hurting me, that he's affecting me? Part of it could be this lack of empathy. And so with lack of empathy, we're going to stick on two sides. The first one is don't care, okay? Just lack of empathy as far as, like, narcissist doesn't care about you, doesn't care about your opinions, doesn't care about your feelings, doesn't care about anything about you, it only cares about themselves. However, what they care about when it regards to you is how it affects themselves, how you make him look, how you make him feel, how you make him seem like he's a great dad in society, but then he comes home and he abuses you and ghosts the kids. So understanding that there's this piece of empathy when we talk about, like, do they actually care that they're hurting you? Big aspect is no, they don't. Now, the other side is a little bit controversial. The other side about empathy is that narcissists have empathy, but they refuse to show it. Now, what I mean by this is in the DSM-5, it actually states lack of empathy is unwilling to acknowledge or identify with the feelings and needs of others. So in that regard, there's a piece of it there that there are a lot of narcissists that actually do have empathy and do understand it at least the cognitive empathy, okay? But the difference is they're unwilling to actually acknowledge your feelings, acknowledge your needs. Now, why? A lot of times when the narcissist acknowledged your needs, they're actually acknowledging that they did something wrong, which is why you're hurting to start off with. That piece invokes shame. That piece evokes accountability and responsibility, and the narcissist doesn't want to have that. Got to be able to avoid that at all costs. So as a result, put it back on you. Now, this piece of like lack of empathy, whether it's on either side of the coin, comes down to the fact that they're not really caring or responding or acting about you. It all still comes back out to them. Now, there's also this piece about empathy and hurting you, that sometimes narcissists aren't intentionally hurting you. Now, some people are going to like, whoa, no, mine definitely hurt you. Okay, like I'm not saying that they didn't. Okay, what I'm saying is it's not always an intention of the narcissist to wake up every morning being like, how can I hurt my spouse? Or how can I hurt the person in my life? But instead, it's like, how do I make myself feel the best ever? How do I make my life like function only for me? And as a result, hurting all these other people is a consequence. It's just a side effect of what's actually happening. You see, the narcissist doesn't care about you. They care about themselves. Like when I was cheating and in affairs, I did not care about those people because I didn't show that by my actions, and I didn't care about my wife, and I didn't care about my daughter. All I cared about was me. Everything else didn't matter. Everything else didn't connect on the same level. All that mattered was what I wanted in the moment. And so what you'll see is in a relationship with a narcissist, you'll see it consistently where they only care about themselves. They only want what they want about themselves and not about anyone else. This can mean that a narcissist can go through life hurting tons of different people, and they're sitting back and they're being like, okay, like why does it matter? Because the only thing in their mind that actually matters in that moment is themselves. Okay? The second thing that I want you to understand is with the narcissist, like not caring about hurting you, is a piece of control. Now, we've talked about before that narcissists want control. Narcissists need control to be in control of the relationship. Oftentimes to prove dominance, to make themselves feel better, to hide insecurities, to cover up the shallowness and lack of vulnerability that they're actually willing to share with you. And so there's a piece of like, I need to control not just the person, but I need to control the image that they see. Oftentimes we refer to this as the mask. Like what I would show and portray to other people was a good put together type of person, but then underneath the surface, I wasn't. And so I was constantly lying to themselves, lying to me, and putting on a different show. Because of that, that's why I had to control other people. Like I had to control the partners that I was with. I had to control my wife's perspective of me or others' perspective of me so that I could keep the image that I was trying to keep. Now, there is aspects that narcissists control just to control because they love the dominance, okay? They totally get that. But there's a big piece of it, too, that narcissists control other people because they're controlling the mask. And as a result, they have to control you to keep that same persona, to keep that same perception going on. Narcissists oftentimes seek to fulfill themselves just by controlling other people. Fulfill my own needs, fulfill my own desires, that kind of thing. Desire for control oftentimes comes out in this emotionally abusive behavior that's designed to keep you in a state of confusion and designed to keep you dependent on the narcissist. Dependent, coming back to them for emotional support, even though they're the ones beating you down. Coming back to them for the financial support, even though they're the ones controlling it. Like there's a piece that it's always trying to just one-up you, okay? This could be someone who's just making you doubt your reality. You know, maybe it's a husband, or maybe it's a partner, or maybe it's your boss. That regularly gaslights you, making you doubt your own perceptions of reality and leaving you feeling powerless to actually stand up for yourself. So as a result, you just roll over, just continue doing the same things over and over because there's that piece there of like, I can't actually do this. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough because of what someone has made you believe. The other one I want to bring up is the lack of accountability. Okay? Narcissists rarely take accountability for their actions or the consequences of those actions. You might have heard the aspect of like wanting all the power. Okay, and narcissist wants all the power, but no responsibility. What's that quote? Like, with great power comes great responsibility. Narcissists want great power with no responsibility. Like, that's the difference. As a narcissist wants to be in control of everything, wants to be in charge of everything, but doesn't want to have that accountability and responsibility of who they actually are and what they are doing. So as a result, this lack of accountability leads them to continue moving forward and forward and forward, regardless of how it actually impacts you. A lot of times they're going to shift the blame onto other people, make excuses for behaviors rather than acknowledging the harm that's actually been caused. For me, I wanted to put it on other people every single time. I didn't want to be accountable for the shit that I've done. I wanted to put it on someone else and be like, hey, it is not my fault. Like, the reason why I cheated wasn't me. It wasn't my decision. It was my wife because she made it so awful. It was because my needs weren't getting met. It was because no one understands me. It was because like I just haven't found the right person. It's because I just can't find like that true love. All this stuff. So all these stories get made up. All these different lies get made up in my own head that convinced me of like, okay, this is what I need to do. And I'm not saying this as being like, oh, I'm a victim because I had this. Like, no, that's a bunch of bullcrap, okay? Like, I made these choices. They were awful choices. They were destructive choices. This is what a narcissist does. They make destructive choices that hurts other people for the preservation of their own self, for the preservation of not feeling shame, of not feeling guilt, of not feeling accountability. I didn't want to deal with any accountability, so I lied. I don't want to deal with any responsibility, so I hid and gaslit. Like the whole aspect of running from accountability. You try to hold a narcissist accountable and you'll see them rage out. You'll see them get frustrated. You'll see them get really mad and oftentimes flip it around and turn it on you. Because they don't want to take the blame and they want to put the blame on someone else. Sometimes you might have this like growing up. Or maybe now you look back and the parent that you had like denies the emotional abuse that they inflicted on you as a child. Sometimes claiming they were just trying to toughen you up or that you were just being oversensitive. When in reality they were just being mean and cruel and rude. But it is hard to walk down this road and be like, wait a second, do they actually care that they're hurting me? At the end of the day, the shortest way to answer this is no. At They don't care that they're hurting you. Because at the end of the day, you don't matter. Now, you need to understand the flip side of that is you do matter, just not to that person. That person doesn't value you. He chose not to value you when he kept cheating on you after you told him to stop. He chose not to value when he disappeared and didn't even show up for the birth of your child. He chose not to value you every single day when he wasn't honest with you. So you need to understand, like, there's a piece here that, like, narcissists don't care if they're hurting you or not because they don't care about you. They care about themselves. I didn't care about the pain that I caused, and any pain that I caused, I had to explain away that it wasn't me, that it was someone else. And you need to understand the pain that you're going through right now has been caused by a person who has been emotionally and mentally, physically abusive to you. And now you have the chance to be able to step away from that and start to move and get free of the trauma bond, of the thought process that's stuck in your head. Right now, if you're struggling to break free from that cycle of narcissistic abuse, like going back and forth, I want you to consider scheduling a one-on-one. Like, we can sit down and talk and be able to answer some of the questions that you have right now to be able to go through, like, is this person acting like a narcissist? Are they struggling with this? Are they telling me this? I'm struggling in this area. And we can work through the trauma bond. We can, like, script it out, have you understand how it actually works, and help you break free. Move to the place where we can move to getting you healed, healthy, and whole moving forward. So reach out today. You can go to rawmotivations.com, click on the one-on-ones. We'd love to interact with you there.